He's been called controversial.
How can I convince you when your ears refuse to hear? You turn your heart away from me each time I'm on here. Your eyes refuse to meet with mine, they glance away in fear. As if you should know that your reflection is the fear.
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all of them foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
Well, it doesn't show. How can I contain this anguish and this pain? Knowing that your eyes are blinded by the lies.
He is the free American, Clay Douglas.
Your eyes blinded by the lies. Yes, your eyes are blinded by the lies.
Catch the Free American weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Every time I think about the damage that's been done, the anger wells inside me till I'm almost overcome. I want to tear the moon out of the sky and lost the sun.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling
832-999-8621. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American, and my guest today is Will Spencer. I've known Will for a lot of years, and he's got a book out now. He's got a book out called The Underlying Cause of the Unconscious Conspiracy Against Our Health. Hello, Will. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Clay.
I got to tell you, this book, I'm about halfway through it now, but I've been a bit busy reworking things and working on the websites and doing the promotions, and I am so impressed. I do not like the pharmaceutical industry. Ninth plank on the Communist Manifesto is corporate farms, and can you say Monsanto? Now, I feel that these people are trying to kill us, and your book is backing up everything, every little nightmare here, every conspiracy theory that I can imagine. So I'm really pleased to have you on today for 2 hours. There is so much to cover. What we're talking about here is in my terms, I don't want to put words in your mouth, they probably got as big pharma. They got 2,000% markup on stuff like Valium. They spend millions of dollars advertising, and my God, when you listen to these advertisements for disease that you never heard of before, and they spend the first half of the commercial telling you what the contraindications are. Be sure to check with your doctor to make sure you're healthy enough for sex. I am just astonished, and I have stated on the show that, hey, they don't call it programming for nothing, people. Here, take this pill.
I jumped out of that world years ago.
Well, in reading your book, you know, as growing up, I was sickly. I was going to the doctor all the time, man. I had every childhood disease there was. But today, there ain't nothing wrong with me.
Well, it's because you quit going to the doctor, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Like I did.
Absolutely. And last time I was in a doctor's office, I was, you know, I had been rolled over on a Harley 3 or 4 times.
That was no accident either, was it?
No, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't an accident. I got to the root of the problem with 9/11. I nailed it, and I said no caves in, no Arabs in a cave in Afghanistan made the U.S. Air Force stand down. And it don't matter. You can sit there and argue all day, folks, over. Well, it was this, it was that, it was this, it was that. There were no planes, you know. You know, you can argue that all day long. It was a production. And you mentioned just before we came on the air, you mentioned that people are getting kind of weary of this whole Boston bombing thing with the troops in the street. You put troops in the street to find a 19-year-old kid with a backpack? These are crisis actors, and this whole thing is staged. And the Waco and Ruby Ridge, those were staged too, and they involved a lot of innocent people, killed a lot of innocent children, so did Oklahoma City, so they don't seem to mind killing us. But everything's staged. For why? That's my opinion, but that's not covered in your book. Sorry for getting off track here. We're being
pretty much stick on the health side of things, the fraud and the deception in from the natural health world, because it's huge. We're being lied to all over the place in the natural alternative health world.
You know, I was pretty excited. I was living in Arizona. I'm in Texas now, so things are back to the old days. But I was pretty excited in Arizona, and I'm excited about the news in Colorado. And they got medical marijuana there. I said, wow, man, that's pretty cool. Now, you know, for the first time in my life in 45 years, I may not be a criminal.
Yeah, right.
But there's a catch here, folks. There's a catch here on this whole medical marijuana thing. You got to go to a doctor and get a prescription. Probably have to have it renewed every month. You got to feed that medical industry that's been feeding you those pills forever, and you got to feed them every month to grow a plant that God gave us. And I think that's very weird. But I was because I haven't been to a doctor since my accident. I'm too healthy to get medical marijuana. I said, well, you dumb son of a bitch, this is because I've been smoking it my whole life. Now, this the medical marijuana is an herb. Hemp is the most productive plant on earth. I believe the Bible refers to it as the plant of renown. Is this and the reason it's illegal is because these newspapermen like William Randolph Hearst got to fly around Hollywood and got a big castle up there to demonize the competing plant to his lumber business.
Right, that doesn't surprise me. Weyerhaeuser was in on that, and Mercer, and some of those.
DuPont. DuPont. We can't. We got to sell rope made out of oil, not something grown by our farmers.
Right, not natural fibers.
Right. And so we've been put into an artificial world, really. An artificial world, and the medicine is the worst of it. I mean, I don't do any kind of medication since I got off all the morphine, you know.
Yeah.
And they kept me drugged for 3 months and ran up a $750,000 hospital bill for 3 broken ribs. I don't require that. It seems to me that there's nothing a doctor can do for a broken rib.
Well, it looks like in the natural health world, I got introduced to it in 1978. There's just as much deception. The biggest thing that I'm seeing now is like Lyme disease. You've heard of that? Weaponized bacteria against the human population and blame it on a woodpecker, a deer tick, or something like that.
Yeah.
That these bacteria now have been altered to live in all different kinds of environments. So no matter if you're alkalizing, there's groups of bacteria that love a high alkaline environment in the body. There's acidic bacteria that love the acidic and the neutral. And so because we're looking for these bacteria, we're able to see what's going on in people's bodies. And 9 out of 10 people have just the Lyme bacteria. There's 87 different bacteria associated with Lyme disease. And they're getting misdiagnosed all over the place because there's so many contributing factors. You have to be like a Sherlock Holmes crossed with a crime scene investigator to actually get to the bottom of what's really going on. There's just that many varying symptoms.
Well, it's kind of like the whole patriot movement was infiltrated by corporatists, let's call them whatever you want to call them, more interested in making money than actually achieving a change or getting any closer to self-sufficiency. So in every movement they always send in 1 or 2 dissenters. Israel pays them. They have a whole crew that they pay to get it on the internet to try to distract from any solutions, even solutions. What's and so about this I would assume that we got a lot of so-called patriot stations that are pushing some kind of cures. Now, I may be guilty of that. I sold Miracle 2 soap for many years, and people raved about it. You know, I don't know what it was prayed over. I don't know whether it was because it was alkaline. What do you think? You were there. You were there when I was selling them.
Yeah, well, it's a good soap. I still like the soap. It's just there was a lot of people that were actually drinking the stuff or ingesting it, and I actually watched a friend of mine kill himself. It destroyed his liver by consuming Miracle 2 neutralizer or something like that. I watched a lot of people harm themselves. They take one thing that has a good purpose, and then, for instance, you can look at in the natural health world, there's so many different voices telling you to do this and telling you to do that, and no one does any research anymore. I just happen to spend a huge pile of money and to actually buy the products, test them myself, see if they're any good, look at what's going on with the body, and to find out most of them are just they're not going to get you anywhere closer to vibrant health. They may be good bandages. Just like Miracle 2 soap, awesome soap. I like it. I don't like the marketing aspect of it, calling it Miracle soap or whatever, Miracle 2 soap. I don't really like using that kind of marketing tactics because in my world, miracles are far in between. There's no such thing. There's too many contributing factors. We have military-grade biological weapons in the environment. We have basically a military system that we live in now, all over the place. It's not just SWAT. I had a gun drawn on me just prior to meeting you back in 2002 when I took my son to the hospital because I didn't know what else to do at the time. And I walked out of the hospital, and with my son, who was about 6 months old at the time, not quite 4 months old, and I had a deputy draw his gun on me, said I can't leave. So we have a military occupation in all aspects of our life. Now we have public school, we have jails, basically guards at the doors of the schools. We have everything around us now is being militarized, including the natural health alternative world. Because the science now knows you can take vitamin C, flaxseed oil, And a lot of these other natural health alternatives, like vitamin D actually comes from genetically modified bacteria. That's how they make vitamin D, and people don't realize this, is that we're being lied to, especially in the natural health world, because they're looking for, oh, I don't want to go to the doctor, the medical world anymore, so I'm going to go over here to the natural health world. Well, we've been compromised in the natural health world that I'm aware of since 1978. You know, you're finding stuff like that out too. I know you are, Clay, just by talking to people you talk to. It's inevitable.
Yes, it's we're really being taken advantage of, and this man, every other commercial on television is for some kind of pharmaceuticals. This has to have an effect. People on this Prozac and all of these other pills out there, I don't keep track of them, so I don't know. But it has to damage their thinking somehow.
It's part of the program, like you said before, the programming. They have to cause damage in order to get their agenda across. I mean, here we have vaccines, we have genetically modified food, we have now bacteria and viruses and funguses in our environment harming us internally, and the medical field basically does not have to tell you what's going on. Like cancer. You know, we've got every known cancer frequency, and we're able to find that there's a new version or mutation of cancer, and we hardly ever see cancer. I don't even know how many people in the last year come to us from Johns Hopkins Cancer University Hospital, which is supposed to be the nation's top with a stage 4, stage 2 cancer. I have never found anybody that actually has cancer in them coming from Johns Hopkins. And yet they're leaving Johns Hopkins scared to death with a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer. That's fraud. That's like evil fraud. And they're getting by with it.
The whole cancer industry is a racket, I believe. Now you're pointing out in your book that what is causing this cancer is almost everything around us. It's like it's almost been produced to. Now you mentioned chemtrails. I did my video on that over 10 years ago, and it was crazy. I would be at a flea market telling people, yeah, look up, this is what's happening right now, right here on this magazine, in this video here, it's happening right now, look. They started spraying at 6 o'clock in the morning, and by noon, it was totally occluded, a cloudy day in Phoenix, Arizona. And in that whole time, I'd say, look up, folks, here's what they're doing to you. Nobody would look up. It was just the most amazing thing to me. Now, how can people ignore this? There are signs up on Mount Rainier and Shasta warning people not to eat snow because it's been contaminated with aluminum. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, it's not a natural event, is it?
No. And nobody has ever... we got jets all over the place. How come nobody's ever never sent up a jet to force one of these planes down to see what they're spraying on us?
Well, it'd be like China, just shoot one down, and you'll have it, you'll know.
Well, they're worried about that. Everybody's got anti-drone missiles but us.
Yeah, right.
Illegal here, huh? Well, you mentioned we not only have a military movement going on. I mean, my film True Face of FEMA predicted that. They told us they were going to do it. The enemy's going to be in the United States. The enemy is weak. The enemy doesn't have training. We'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the Americans that just won't follow orders.
Yeah, that was a decade ago. I remember you making that movie. That was like exactly a decade ago.
Yes.
That they were telling us what they were doing.
It seems like it's happening in 10-year segments. You know, I started the militias and got Bingham back in 1994. I still miss Bingham. I loved living out there. And if it hadn't been for some type of subterfuge, you know, I'd have a Liberty Village out there. I'd have 10 teepees and a yurt sitting right out there in the backyard. Which, by the way, I still think is about our only answer. If we don't revive the self-sufficient family farms, they'll starve us the same way they did the farmers in the Ukraine. They'll tax you so much you can't afford to harvest your own grain. It's what is, it's the plan. I mean, my God, they've written it out, folks, and they plan to do that basically all over the world using your kids.
Yeah, I'm aligned with you. The small family farm, the way it was up until 250 years ago, that was the sustainability then, and I believe that's our sustainability now. The issue that I see now is we have 250 years of toxicity levels of all-time high, radioactive levels at all-time high. The food value is at all-time lows, the nutritional value. The emotional family unit values at an all-time low. So there were documents that I read, I think it was called Quiet Weapons for Silent War or something. I'm sure you come across it, Clay.
Silent Weapons for Silent War,
they laid this out, 50 years ago that this is the plan. They've been just methodically moving forward in this direction for, millennia. This isn't anything new. It's just people now are waking up and the water's at their nose, going, oh crap, now what are we going to do? I thank you for part of my waking up, because that's how we come across to know each other, was because I was looking for answers back, over a decade ago. And this happened to be, you were one of the resources that I checked out and ended up spending a lot of time with you and knowing you, and here we are still doing the same thing. Telling people, waking people up, here's the truth, there's problems, and my focus has been on health, because like you, I was 20 years of my life extremely ill, and my story is the introduction in the book, and my client number one for me, if it doesn't work on me, it's not going to work on anybody, and I don't have the problems, the asthma, the eczema, the hormonal problem. I don't have any of those problems anymore.
Well, we're in this chemical bath here that we call our environment. All the efforts that are being made to clean up the environment, they aren't addressing the right thing. They ain't talking to the aluminum plants. They ain't talking to the manufacturing companies. They aren't talking to the people that destroy the environment, and they certainly got a hold on any type of alternative energy. I mean, my plan for Liberty Villages was pretty simple. If you can grow your own food naturally, no genetically modified crap with the poison already built in, and you can generate electricity from the air, the wind, the sun, and you can build relatively inexpensively, and live relatively inexpensive. Then if you do that, you don't need the government for nothing. That was my concept, Liberty Village concept. That's what I think we were starting and had in Bingham. We had a garden. We had goats.
Yeah, when I moved down there, I brought my goats and chickens and stuff down there. Having fresh food is definitely a plus to be healthy.
Now, living in this, how do the average person, how do they start thinking about protecting themselves? I mean, I have been reporting on the news of the New World Order and their takeovers for so long that I'm almost tired of it. I almost made the decision to just write science fiction from now on, because when I write science fiction, I'm 10 years, it happens 10, 20 years later,
So is it really science fiction?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just psychic,
I mean, nowadays with the health of people and what we're finding inside people's bodies. I mean, we're like Star Trek. We're the genetic modification that's going on in the general public. I'm saying it even more in the natural alternative health world, the genetic manipulation going on, because we're able to see the genetic mutations that are taking place. The amount of viruses, bacteria, and fungus is, I believe, at the root of this. I mean, you talk about environmental engineering or geoengineering. We have, in a lot of the country, we have like subtropical type of weather. Like right here today, it's in the 80s, it's raining out. You can go outside and smell mold and funguses, fusarium outside. It's like there's certain pockets of the area of the and I'm watching the maps. Here in the East Coast, it is humid, muggy. The bacteria and the funguses and the viruses love this kind of an environment. And the amount of people that have illnesses, just low-grade illnesses, it's not like your arm is falling off kind of illness. I'm talking about a debilitating type of illness that doesn't kill you, but keeps you knocked down so you're not productive, but you got to go to the hospital, and all they do is they just throw like 4 or 5 different kinds of drugs at you. If that doesn't work, they just allow you to degrade to a point that they can do something like cut something off or put something in or some kind of procedure. And if you just watch and ask, talk to people, you'll find this stuff out. I know enough people around to know that there's patterns developing, and where there's population centers, there are these pathogenic issues going on, and most of it's just naturally occurring. It's not like necessarily biological war. I'm saying, but these bacteria, these pathogens, are out in the environment. Where do you think the deer tick got the bacteria from? It got it from the same environment that we're walking in and living in.
The whole medical industry, the way it's set up, I mean, basically it's legalized drug dealing. You know, I have a big problem with medical marijuana. Why would I pay a doctor to get permission to grow and consume something God gave me? I mean, it just doesn't quite make sense to me. And,
I'm with you.
And also, Will, I mean, there was a story that floated across my desk about some couple. They put their 2-year-old daughter to bed. They went into the bedroom, they smoked a joint. A neighbor smelled it, the police came barging in. They took the baby away from them, put it in the foster home, and the baby was dead 2 weeks later. I mean,
yeah, I've heard several stories like that. That's sad.
I mean, first of all, you know, there was no harm to the child at all, and this is the state that we're living in, and this is what happened in the Soviet Union. And they made it a crime to tell anybody that Lenin was Jewish. It was a capable offense, but that means they shot you in the head. 60 million.
Yeah, but when they censor words like that, I mean, that's not the kind of a society that I want to live in like that. When you tell the truth and you get in trouble.
Well, you know, that's what happened with me and Revolution. I mean, you had 3 people that got offended every time I used the word Jew. And I'm sorry that affects them that way. I think that's part of the programming, because I've had wonderful Jewish friends like Benjamin Friedman, who they attacked, who reported on the whole New World Order system. I mean, you know, I've been demonized for talking about the protocols of the elders of Zion because, hey, it's a plan for one world government under Satan, my God, you know, and it's 200 years old, so no matter who wrote it, who's using it today, how is this being done? It's all being done, by, in my opinion, by the bankers. I don't care whether they're Jewish or Muslim. Yeah, it makes a difference. I'm sorry, the Muslims don't charge interest. The Muslims don't allow usury. So we got to declare war against the Muslims. Looks like that's kind of what's a capsule event of what's happening in Syria right now. We're being moved into a third world war, and this one, they tell us, folks, are going to be fought on our soil. And part of the things that are happening here, Will, that are probably to be reported on this week, is that we're actually under some type of biological attack. What about Morgellons, for God's sake? We got a brand new disease here. What about that? Where does that fit in? Is that part of the chemtrails?
My view on Morgellons, and I've been looking at Morgellons and working with people in the Morgellons community as well as the Lyme community for like over 5 years. Morgellons, in my opinion, is an outcome of the industrialized, militarized environment that we live in. There are so many contributing factors. I don't believe, and this is based on my observations, clinically and personal, that there is no one strain of bacteria. There isn't even just a group of bacteria associated with Morgellons. It's not its own entity. It's a result of the industrialization. You got the chemtrails where we're getting all the different metals, radioactive elements, and biological elements coming to us out of the air. The fibers coming out of the air that we're finding that are just like, there's stuff inside the fibers that actually, when you breathe the fibers in or you get it on your body, they're carrying like a payload. So when they deliver their payload, then the fibers have to work their way out of the body. Some of the fibers are even being created in the body from the funguses and the bacteria naturally in our body. And then we have all the neurological problems associated with this. I mean, it's a result of, because as soon as you fix and reverse the malnutrition state that people are in, you start to knock down the pathogenic load, and you get the metals, petrochemicals, radioactive elements out of the body, the Morgellons goes away. So it is totally reversible, but I'm telling you, it's not the most easiest, and it definitely requires to stick with the program. And I'm telling you what, most of the programs out there, because I've checked them out, they're a big band-aid at best, and I haven't found anybody out there that's really getting long-term results. I mean, people have been working with us with Morgellons for a couple of years are getting results.
Okay,
I'm really.
Let's talk about something a little bit more common. I mean, under my little scenario here, you know, they are trying to kill us. This is open warfare, and they want to feed our old folks drugs. I mean, you know, I've seen it in the nursing homes. I've seen what's happened. It's like they're going after our veterans now. I mean, in my opinion, if you've been over to Vietnam or you've been over to Iraq or Afghanistan and you come home and you don't have post-traumatic stress syndrome, that's when you're ill, but that's not when they're going to give you all of the drugs to keep you from listening to your conscience, I would say. Isn't that what a lot of this whole medical farce is that we're facing here?
Sure, it keeps you from facing reality. That's why the psychotropic drugs are $1 billion like a month. I forget how many $1 million. It was like this huge number a month. They got that many people on these psychotropic drugs, and if you just look at what the psychotropic drugs do, it's like burning the neurons in your brain so you can't think. It keeps you separated from reality. So then you go through the military, you've already been programmed. I mean, you have been vaccinated beyond belief. You've been around radioactivity. You eat their crap food, and then you come back here where you can't tell anybody what you're doing, technically, theoretically. But yet you live with that inside of you, and just that gnawing away, just that conflict in your subconscious drives people insane, and that's what we're dealing with.
More of my brothers killed themselves over here. More than 58,000 killed themselves after they got home from Vietnam. 58,000 died over there.
What's that?
I said 58,000 died over in Vietnam, but more have committed suicide when they got back to the States and trying to deal with this bureaucracies.
That suicide rate is higher now. I heard from those that are over there guarding the poppy fields for the pharmaceutical companies. Those over there that are protecting the unlawful building of pipelines and raping of the planet over in the Middle East. Those guys come home here, because I deal with them, some of them, and they are emotionally wrecked, which then affects their biology, and now loads of them are killing themselves because they can't live with the contradiction inside them.
That's it's really a shame. It's sad but true. But it's almost like there is a war on the veterans. I mean, come out in DHS. This is why one of the reasons I brought my book out, Mystery Babylon, because the DHS report is trying to point a finger at Christian identity. Anybody that don't think, in other words, anybody that don't believe the Jews are the holy race or something, and they're going after veterans. Yeah, I've said anytime a communist regime takes over a country, they go after three classes of people in order. The farmers first, because they don't want you being able to feed yourself. They go after the intelligence index, anybody smart enough to know what they're doing. And third, they go after the veterans and police officers that might still be loyal to the old regime. In other words, us oath keepers.
That's a problem in this country. You have too many people. I mean, this country was founded on the. I did my family history because I have on my father's side, well, both my parents' side, there's a large chunk that come from Europe. And what was, I believe it was the 1600s, a little bit before, that actually opened the prisons up and sent the prisoners over here to start occupying this country. And they created a life for themselves here separate from the crown prior to the 1700s. And so they've been working ever since to keep that freedom identity from multiplying.
I say they have refined the art of slavery to the point the slave don't know they're slave. I'm not a slave. I can go get my pickup and go get a beer. Watch.
Yeah, right.
Now, how do we oppose this? Now, this whole country was started by rebels who didn't want to go along with, didn't want to work for the crown. So I guess not much has changed. Thomas Jefferson said we needed a revolution about every 20 years. We need to, I've said don't take a million-man march, all it really takes is 12. If you can get involved in one neighborhood, in one county, with some activist groups and guide them in the right direction, away from the whole communist role model, the control, their whole plan is control the opposition and divide and conquer. That's what we're up against right now. What you are doing with your book is a powerful part of the work. It's taking the power away from the pharmaceutical company. If somebody buys and reads your book, are they going to go out and go get a bottle of Viagra or something?
Oh, you cut out. I'm sorry, Clay. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I said if somebody buys your book and starts reading your book, are they going to be a customer any longer for Viagra or pain medication or sleeping pills?
Yeah, you lose the need for any of the pharmaceutical stuff because all pharmaceuticals are toxic. You don't need that stuff. Really, we're natural beings, and when you read through the book and you get the concepts, I mean, that book started about the time I met you. You know, that's like a decade ago. And so the information has been put in an easy-to-read fashion large print for those that can't see, and it's packed. There's not much story in there. The first little bit's my story, then after that is just the outcome of what I've found to be true and accurate. And there is no need for pharmaceutical intervention at all, period. You just have to acquire some different thinking, as well as the natural stuff. There's a lot of natural stuff you don't even need, and people are taking all this stuff, really not helping their body at all. It's just amazing how simple your life can be, and how easy it can be, and how healthy you can be, just by acquiring a different way of looking at things, and then implementing it.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. Part of the plans that I've got are the ideas or concepts. These aren't concept, folks. I'm not trying to make money out of it. I'm telling you, Liberty Village, the concept is real simple. Grow your own food, generate your own electricity, tell the government to kiss your ass. You know, it's and by informing you that there are a little bit of alternatives. I mean, I know people that were really on pills, and when they got off of them, they started feeling better, doing better. You know, it just, you can't believe how much it interferes with you. I took one pill since I got out of the hospital that they recommended I take on a regular basis. I said, no way I'll ever take another one of these again. You know, you can give me once. You can get me once. I'll try anything to find out what it is. But as far as a regime of it, no way.
Well, they get you hooked on that stuff. I mean, you said it before. They're legalized drug pushers, and I'll tell you what, some of those drugs are pretty hard to. They're not the easiest to get off, wean yourself off of once you're on. I mean, pretty much we've been able to work with everybody on it. Doesn't matter. I mean, I had a gentleman a few years ago that had a complete heart transplant. And we had him off. It took about 6-7 months to get him weaned off his anti-rejection medicine, and he was living fantastic without it. So his body accepted that new heart just fine. He was without any pharmaceutical intervention, and he was living pretty good by himself without that. And he had a different heart in him. And so you tell me you don't need that stuff. If you know how the body works, and believe me, I come from a different standpoint. I look at the body from an electrical standpoint because we are electrical. And my website, bodyelectrician.com, I mean, it says it right there, just in the domain name. And if you come from that perspective, you have a little different view, and everything you do is to increase your vibratory rate, your resonant frequency.
Oh, you mean increase your
you attract disease.
You attract the negative influences. This is what they try to do. This is what the programming is, to keep you thinking negatively. They want you afraid. What is there to be afraid of, man? You know, what are they going to do? Kill you? I mean, nobody gets out of this world alive anyway, so
right.
Don't do much good to worry about it. But I like the definition of love. Do you know what the definition of love is? Your level.
I'm curious to hear yours.
Level of vibrational energy.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I've heard it put in different ways, but that's a good one.
The more you refine your love quotient, your level of vibrational energy, the better access I think you got to the main source. I mean, to me, well, not to. I mean, I certainly study the Bible and promote it as a tool, a learning tool. But if you're omnipotent and omniscient, I ask what you are, and you're the only one of your kind in the universe. What are you? Well, the standard answer, of course, is God. I come from things from a little different standpoint, and I think you're bored shitless. So what do? You can do anything, you can be anything. You're what controls the atoms. You're one that controls the vibratory rate of everything. You created it. You created it. In the mind of God we were created. And by lowering our vibratory rate a bit, so we can fit into this environment. And so in other words, God created man and woman. Because he didn't have any love, he didn't have any romance, he didn't have any intrigue. He knew everything, he could do everything, so he created us, and we are his actors. He sits behind our eyes and sees if we make the right decisions. And we certainly, obviously, the same kind of entity would create Satan too, because you got to have the evil to balance the good. If you don't know what the evil is, you may not be able to achieve good.
Well, we're in a polarized universe here. We're dualistic. You can't know light unless you know darkness. You can't feel pain. You can't know pain unless you felt pain or you felt the difference of no pain. I mean, that's the 3D experience that we live.
That's the learning curve. And now the occult, they talk about the Akashic records, and I think, as it is above, so it is below. I think what was happening with the Akashic records that only the mystics and the adepts could achieve in 2,000 years ago is with the level of knowledge that we've got now, that level of understanding has materialized here on Earth. We call it the Internet, which is actually a double-edged sword. They certainly use it to control us, the same way they use the television to program you, and the pharmaceutical companies to drug you. Hey, you want to go to jail if you take this Valium.
And they also the chemical companies to keep your food. I mean, right now, if you look at the ingredients of pesticides and you look at the ingredients in pharmaceutical drugs, it's a mirror. It's an equal equation. So they're doing the same thing.
So you mean to tell me that we've been demoted from cattle to insects?
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, I'm sorry, this insect's got a stinger, folks.
It's gonna bite back. And so you want to look at another parallel. You look at these genetically modified bacteria, funguses, these weaponized microorganisms. When they're inside of you and you're eating this grain-based, carbohydrate-based diet, you're actually creating the pesticides inside of you. Because if people, you've heard of how penicillin was invented. Penicillin is actually a chemical given off from a group of funguses called penicillium, which is like your bread mold and certain environmental mold funguses.
The one thing in the world I'm allergic to, by the way.
There's a lot of people allergic to it. The thing is that the penicillium organism gets inside of people's bodies, along with Candida family, along with Trichosporum, Trichophyton. There's like 800 different just funguses alone. And when you're eating this high carbohydrate diet, you're raising your glucose and you're feeding the problem. And then they're producing these chemicals like penicillin, ergot, fusarium, and there's hundreds and hundreds of these chemicals. They're actually similar to the ingredients in the vaccines. So just by eating a standard American diet, living in the standard America, following along with the natural health or the pharmaceutical type of thinking, you're actually vaccinating yourself just by living. Seriously.
I recall a point in your book that somebody said that your information on Candida was certainly worth the price of the book. By the way, how much is the book?
It's $25 on my website, bodyelectrician.com. It's also, you have a link on your website, which thank you very much for helping me, because I self-published and I'm promoting. This is how I, just word of mouth and doing shows like this with interviews, and which I do thank you very much, guys.
My pleasure. I've got my book right up beside your book, and my book is a history book. You know, that's you can get about 2,000 years of history with that. Well, this Candida. We're kind of coming up on a break. Actually, I don't have a break anymore. At the top of the hour, we'll switch films so we don't have to have, so people have to click on both of them to hear the whole show or go to Blog Talk Radio. But we got about 10 minutes left on this segment. And talk to me about the Candida. I don't even know what that is. I'm sorry for my ignorance. But what are we talking about? I mean, it just struck me as being important for the recommendation in the front of your book. By
the research into Candida started me down this path, like a decade ago, and it really was mysterious to me because that was one of the easiest things to find information-wise, even before the internet was popular, was everyone was talking about Candida. Well, Candida is a family of microorganisms. There's actually like 14 or 15 strains, different types of Candida, different strains of the Candida organism, and they're naturally occurring in the environment. They're naturally part of our body, part of our immune system, part of our digestive system, but they've gone pathogenic. The organism, the Candida family, has gone pathogenic in our body and overpopulated because the protection mechanism to keep them in balance is gone. It's gone from our body, it's gone from the environment. You can look at I think it was 1915 or 1917, every few years they do a complete essay of all the microorganisms that they can find, and they list them. Well, there was a group of microorganisms naturally occurring in 1915 or 1917 in Berkey's bacterial essay or whatever it's called, and in 2006 or 2005 they were gone. They're not there, and you can track, and I've talked to people that have done the actual microscope work to find out when it happened, what happened. It's in the books, and I'm telling you, since 1940s, that's a long time ago, our protection in our environment for the Candida, as well as all the other microorganism pathogens, our protection has been gone since the 40s. That's before I was born. Our environment's been screwed up. I mean, the contributing factors in the 30s, in the early 40s, with open atmospheric nuclear testing, pesticides in the 1916, 1917, in that area, in the northwestern quadrant of the United States, they started using DDT and these other pesticides openly in the apples and pears and cherries. They've been using commercial fertilizers, which is industrial waste put on the fields, and all these EMFs in the air. We have radiation now in the air. All these things have upset the balance in the environment, and now we have, like, the Candida growing rampant in people's body. I have yet to meet somebody that does not have a fungal problem, a Candida problem in their bodies when they first come to us. It's like epidemic, and there's really nothing out there, for the most part, that's going to give you any kind of a relief long term, and that's what I focused, and that's what I've dedicated a big chunk of a decade to figuring out, and finally got it figured out, and we have extreme success now. I'm talking like 4 or 5 years now with really good success at getting the pathogenic problem in the body taken care of. Doesn't matter what you got. Don't care if it's staph, it's MRSA, AIDS, HIV, arthritis, which is a virus for the most part, Lyme, I don't care what kind of Lyme you have. All those are microorganism imbalances. When you take care of the imbalance, the disease state goes away. It's just that simple.
How do you give me some examples of how you would treat somebody? Let's say somebody has arthritis. They're having trouble moving, getting around. And I kind of have a hard time relating to this because I don't do anything. I don't, and I rarely get sick in any respect.
Well, the easiest. This is we're migrating in this direction. I used to have what we called our 90-day program, but since I discovered some technology now where we're able to scan the body through your hand, which changed everything we do in the last few years, because we've discovered a way how to identify what's going on in the body based on frequency, based on resonance harmonics of heavy metals, pathogens, parasites, hormones, enzymes, minerals, biological warfare agents, cancers, all this stuff, like 30,000 different things. And then a formula protocol is developed, and you follow the protocol that's given you. And usually it's like 2 to 3 month increments. You have a scan, you do the protocol. You get a scan, you do the protocol. And that's why people with Lyme's have been suffering with Lyme's for like decades. Can come to us in 6 months to a year, the Lyme's are gone. And their symptoms are going away and the body's healing. Same with Candida. Because Candida, when it leaves the GI tract and travels in your blood, your lymph system, and gets up in your brain and in your sinus cavity, it is a challenge to get rid of it because it's not supposed to be up in your brain or in your nervous system. So it's not the fastest way to deal with it, but it does work, and the sustainability is long term if you follow along.
Now there's an area here, a gray area that I'm seeing. What about, let's just say people like me. I'm 67 now. I'm not ill. I don't go to a doctor, but there are a lot of people out there that are my age that aren't feeling quite as good as I do. They probably will end up going to a doctor. And I'm focusing right now on the baby boomers because we're all coming into retirement here. And I don't think they want us to live that long after 65 and draw back our money. I'm asking the question is, what happened to all the Social Security money from all the people that died after paying into it? You know, where did who got that? So we're being groomed for extinction. That's what the medical, in my opinion, this is what the medical establishment is doing. They're basically euthanizing us. They're drugging us down so we don't recognize the form of slavery that's being built up around us.
Yeah, you can just look at the numbers. I watch the birth records and I watch the obituaries, and you can see a significant decline. We're in a genocidal state right now. All you have to do is do the math. There is more people dying every week than there are being born. And
yet, our population is not declining. Why? Because they're running in immigrants, they're running in illegals in Europe, they're running in the Muslims. The Muslims have and to me, the Muslims got to be fairly easily led. Let's put it that way. If you're one of the sheep and you always bow at this particular time, you know, I mean, that's just the way it is. I don't know, and we don't know because of the propaganda and the mainstream media control. They want you to think all Muslims and all Palestinians are terrorists. I don't think that's the case. But they're trying to set us against each other. And there's a war coming up in Syria that could turn nuclear very easily because there are countries there that have nuclear weapons and have bragged that they would do it and could hit every capital in Europe. But it's not the one you're not able to point the finger at them the way you do the government of Syria. We're about to go to war. And in the meantime, they are. I think they sprayed us with Agent Orange. I think they sprayed us with Agent Orange in Vietnam because they didn't want healthy, well-trained fighting men coming back that were still loyal to the Constitution. Well, wasn't that and that was Monsanto, by the way. That was Monsanto, I believe.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I actually have had a few clients that have been like this one gentleman. His job was at the back of the airplane with his hatchet, punch holes in 55-gallon barrels in the top, and then kick them over the back over Vietnam to defoliate the forest. It's the same stuff that the farmers are using today to defoliate agriculture, called herbicide. And the neurological effects, the biological effects on people's bodies, because this stuff transfers in the food. It transfers in the food. You're getting vitamin C in the store. Doesn't matter if it's called organic or not. There's Roundup pesticide residue in the vitamin C. I mean, it's a simple spectrometer analysis to figure that out. It passes all the way through to the end product and then to the consumer, and then it saturates your tissue from the buildup because the body can't really deal with it.
So how do we counter this? How do we prevent this from happening? Now, you know, again, my Liberty Village concept is grow your own food in your backyard, and when you know where it comes, and you can protect it to some extent. But how do we combat this?
Well, what I've discovered is there's a natural chelating system in the body that doesn't work right now for most people. And it is because of the malnutrition state, so the body isn't working properly. It is the inability for the body to identify these foreign toxic substances, so the body doesn't know how to deal with them, they can't deal with them, and the pathogenic state inside the body. You have to have a balanced microorganism population in order for the chelation to work. You have to have a mineralized, functioning body so the chelation system works. We don't have that. We just don't have that today. We have a pathogenic state, we have an extremely toxic state, and we have a malnutrition state that we are in. And unless you address those three simultaneously, you don't have a solution. What we're doing now, we address these three. We're able to see the malnutrition state, so then we help get the body into a more saturated mineral and amino acid state. We have over 400 different probiotic strains or microorganism strains in the products that we use. Plus, we have things in our products, in our protocols, that actually digest the toxins, the heavy metals, all known radioactive isotopes, all cancer cells. And when you get rid of the toxins, you get your natural chelation system back, get the body to function. You don't have to worry about all this stuff. It reverses genetic modification all by itself. It makes us healthy. It keeps us healthy. And we don't have the stress and the worry and the anxiety about it. And that's the biggest part. You can just relax a little bit. You don't have to worry.
It's, we've kind of forgot how to have fun and enjoy the battle, I think. And part of this is, we've got to find answers to this. We've got to oppose this, or at least put it to work. I mean, the people around the country are starting to do little enclaves. They're starting to do what we wanted to do with Liberty Villages. And there's a lot more people that are doing organic growing. We're also seeing a spread of the message, grow food, not grass. Will this kind of movement help us on the beneficial end? I mean, how do where most of us are like kind of dumbfounded when we're coming to face with these Monsantos. I mean, they're legislating and getting permission from the government to poison you.
It just goes to say that the government is not there for my benefit, your benefit as a human being living on the planet. It's there to operate like the farmer and keep extracting resources like milk from a cow. That's it. To bolster and to feed its agenda at our expense.
I think you have hit the nail square on the head. Now, how do we turn this into something positive for people? You know, I recall a conversation with Joe McCarthy, Senator Joe McCarthy, and Secretary of Defense. And McCarthy said something about him being stupid, and James Forrestal said, no, consistency is not the mark of stupidity. If they were just stupid, occasionally they'd make a mistake in our favor.
That don't happen.
That don't happen. So how do we change that? And one of the things I've suggested is that we don't need a 1,000,000-man march. All we need is 12 men and a judge. And we ought to, with all the evidence we've raised about these poisoning, we're talking about genocide here. This is actually war crimes, and that term is being tossed around all around overseas, over in Europe, and people are in Malaysia, and world government is starting to get a little bit shaken, I think. We see 16 million man march in Egypt to try to turn things around, and to this day we still don't know who the good guys are in Egypt or Syria, do we?
No, not really.
And
my solution to this is just what I'm doing, because it's one person at a time. I have lobbied before. There was a group of 20 of us, naturopaths up in Minnesota when I lived there, that got together on one topic, the nutraceutical, which is a pharmaceutical-funded natural health industry, nutraceutical companies that were trying to lobby to get some laws passed. 20 of us banded together on one topic. We stopped it in 5 nights of lobbying. You want to know the power that we have? That's the power of how come 20 people can change the laws in a state that has millions of people in it. That's how much power that we have. I mean, I'm aligned with you, Clay, when you say that. It doesn't take a million, it takes 12. Whether it's on a jury, whether it's 12 people in your community, whether it's 3 people in your community that agree on one topic, that's just neighborhood safety.
well,
Like
that's
here where I live,
yes, go ahead. You're
like here where I live, we have local groups that openly carry their firearms, if you will, in their neighborhood, and we look out for each other's homes that way. Even though I don't really talk to any of my neighbors, you don't get by with that stuff here. And that is it. Our local, like your Liberty, if it's a Liberty Village, or if it's just the neighborhood banding together, or whatever. We protect ourselves. That's what's going to keep this country the way we like to live, is on a local, individual level.
I think so too. I mean, this is what all of my future books are about, are the rights of the individual. You know, like I said, you can beat your head against that Wailing Wall if you want, just as long as you don't try to make me do it. And it has to start, I believe, and we've already got the movement. The Constitutional Sheriff's Association, started by Richard Mack, is a step in the right direction. The militia created under the sheriff over on the Texas border here is a step in the right direction. Hey, Sheriff, we're here for you if you need us. You can call us deputy, you can call us assistant, you can call us a militia, you can call us whatever you want. And that's starting to be recognized even by the governor of Texas. So we've taken steps in the right direction. And some places like Hemet, California, like Ithaca, New York, and like Denver, Colorado, where they've got mile-high money, have even started issuing their own script. This is worth $10 or 10 hours a year work. This is an hour. Here's our hour. This is issued by the community. That comes from within the community. That keeps the money within the community, and you're not using a Federal Reserve note. If the Federal Reserve and the World Bank is our problem, this is what we got to deal with, isn't it?
Right. And I got introduced just the other day. There's actually a structure being put into place where you can trade your Ithaca dollars with the script in like California on a 1-to-1 ratio. There's actually that whole system right now is being put together because I got asked if I wanted to be part of it because some of my clients are in the development of that whole process, that structure where local currencies will be able to be exchanged nationally or even internationally as a recognized currency like the Swiss kronos or the pound internationally as well as locally.
I'm in Texas, but in my mind, we never should have gave up the Rocky Mountains, so that should still be part of the Republic. So I don't have any problem selling my book here for mountain hours or Ithaca hours.
Yep, I do. We were in Oregon a few years ago in a county up there, and the majority of the people that came to our seminar, they didn't have Federal Reserve notes. All they had was silver, and we took it in trade. I mean, that's money to me. That's more money, better money in my book than having a dollar bill in your pocket. But
been around longer.
What's that?
Been around longer.
Yeah, it's tangible money. Anyhow, so if you're getting local script or metal, or that's what this country was founded on. They didn't even have money, if you will, like we have Federal Reserve notes. They actually had traded before this country was even built.
Well, you know,
inhabitants.
I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that I'm saying on my Liberty Village concept, and nothing's nailed down. This is all still in the formative stages. You know, I do have access to things structured like TVs. I do have access to solar power plants that you can put on the side of your TV or put on the back of your Harley and take with you. I've got, and we've got books, just what we were talking about. Here, we can, I want you to call me and get me in with that network, because I want to be able to take everybody's script.
Absolutely. As soon as they give me the link when they have it available, I'll be sharing that with everybody, because that is a great alternative. Because right now we don't have much of an alternative unless you're a free thinker to do much trading other than with Federal Reserve notes.
Now, starting at the county level is important, and here's what you can do, folks. If first of all, get the book. Get the book, The Underlying Cause of the Unconscious Conspiracy Against Our Health. And Will Spencer is the author. And you have something else. You've mentioned something about some groups that you had, that you started, or that you were operating. I'd like for you to expand a little bit on that, because I see this as a valuable tool for somebody's health. I mean, this is an alternative. And if we can organize block by block, county by county, to, first of all, we can cut off funding many of these chemical companies that are poisoning you. Second, you can you can educate your neighbors. Just to give you an example, let me explain what I'm talking about here. Just about the honeybees. Tell me about the honeybees.
Yeah, a few years ago, well, 2006 actually, was watching I had my own bees and they were having problems, so I started doing research and, okay, well, why are my bees having problems? Which led me down this road, which today now, in discovering my problems, discovering that most of the beekeepers in the commercial beekeeping industry have these problems, and the problems are similar across the board, especially with those that move their bees from place to place. The place is called migratory beekeeping, and as well as those that keep their bees in areas where, like within 5 miles around their beehive, they have any conventional farming. So we have pesticide exposure, no matter if it's agricultural or if it's cosmetic, like a dandelion spray or these chemlons and these chemical poisoners known as landscapers. We have malnutrition state with the bees because the pollen and the nectar that's in the plant cannot be any healthier than the plant itself. We have heavy metal toxicity. We have then a pathogenic issue. And in the beehive, it's no different than in our body. If you look at it as an organism, as the whole hive itself, it comes to a point, especially around agriculture, that if the bee is constantly being exposed to pesticides and having a malnutrition state, that eventually the funguses, the bacteria start to build up in the hive in response to the toxic overload, and then the bigger organism like mites start showing up, and then pretty soon you have a hive that either dies or that leaves because their house is toxic and you can't live there anymore. I mean, it's very simple to me, at least from my perspective, to look at this because it affected me. I changed that. We have products now. That's another website it's up. We're putting together. It's called vibrantbees.com. We have 3 years now with beekeepers using our products with success. They don't have problems using our products in their beehives. I just applied the same thinking from humans to the beehive, and bang, it works. It works well.
Now, how do people get this information? I mean, part of this is in your book, but if we were to do this in every county across the country, is it duplicable? What can we do? And how can we people understand? I mean, I did this. I started the militias in this magazine after what happened at Waco. I was just about as totally outraged as you could possibly get, and so I started the militias and the Free American magazine. I think the assault is going on right now on the American people the same way they did on Waco, and I think you have answers. I think you've got a way to oppose this. How do we stay healthy? How do we resist? When the pharmaceutical companies are trying to profit off of you, the food companies are trying to profit off of you, and everything they're selling you is trying to kill you, I think people need to be wake up. And I want a vehicle to do that. How do we do it?
Well, you go to my website or give us a call. Our website is the best way, bodyelectrician.com. There's a contact button on the left side, way on the left. But that's the easiest. I do radio shows too. I do 2 shows a week.
Yeah, tell everybody about that. You're on the station I've been kicked off of, so go ahead.
Yeah, I do my Wednesday show on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Also, my Wednesday show is simulcast over on wolfspiritradio.com, as well as the show today, thank you, Dave, that's wolfspiritradio.com. That's Monday evening there. Just check it's at 5 p.m. Central Time on Mondays. Also, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Central Time. Dave simulcasting over there too. So, and all my archives are over there. And we talk about solutions. We talk about what's going on. From I do a radio show with another author, Patrick Jordan, and researcher, who is the author of ICD 999 vaccine-induced diseases, as well as another gentleman most of the time. And we talk about these frauds that are in the natural health world, as well as some of these topics we're talking about today in other parts of life. And then the solutions, in my mind, is what we do. What I do on off-air with helping people, plants, animals, bees, because we all have the same problem on this planet. No matter what you are, if you're a bug, if you're a human, if you're an animal, we have a pathogenic overload everywhere. We have malnutrition everywhere, and we have toxicity levels at all-time high. And I apply the same thinking to these different avenues, whether you're a bee, a human, or a dog, and you get results, literally, because we all have the same problem.
All right, it's I mean, how do we prevent, we were all psyched in going to the grocery store, H-E-B, we do our shopping there, I mean, and not a whole lot of it, although this new, what Oklahoma is doing is a food co-op, and I highly recommend that you try to get one in your county started. They've got all the paperwork up to do. I ain't trying to make no money off of it, folks. I intend to keep you informed. By the way, I'll be putting your book and your ad and everything, and this radio show into my first edition of the Free American Online magazine. I intend to make it a little bit better than Free American was, because you can watch a movie in it, you know. Maybe you can open it up on your iPad and listen to the Rolling Stones or something, you know.
Right.
And I'll be putting this show in it and your book in that, so we can see if we start getting some response, folks. I write books for a living. You know, I publish magazines for a living. I want a subscription fee. It ain't gonna be much. Yeah, $10. $10. Try it for a month. I'll be doing 2 issues a month at least. Maybe I'll do more. I've got tremendous writers that don't get to see on the mainstream, and I hope you'll do a segment on there, because I think your whole plan for a healthy existence is something that every one of my readers needs to know and understand.
I believe that, because now we are moving into some of these science fiction types of things taking place around us, like the electrical magnetic interference and also electrical smog in our environment. And if you're not healthy, my kind of healthy, you will be at the disadvantage. You will be at the end of a lot of issues, because the mineral deficiency in your body, the amino acid deficiency, and the high amounts of pathogens in your body. And like we deal with this like all the time. People are having electrical frequency, almost like allergies, if you will. Their bodies can't take the electrical smog. And it's because of the malnutrition state. It's because of the pathogens that are in the body, the funguses, the bacteria, and the viruses. I mean, they did a test. This is like 10 years ago, where they took a sealed glass tube, they sterilized it, hermetic, they sealed it, so there was nothing inside but just plain silica sand. And they took a frequency with a laser of a specific bacteria. They shined it through this glass tube, and the bacteria began to grow inside this sealed tube. The exact bacteria that was in the frequency of the laser. This is happening in our environment. people's bodies are being irritated because we're having these frequencies in our environment, and people are starting to get sick that's never been sick. And if you don't have the protection, this is my philosophy here. If you don't have a mineral saturated body, if you have a pathogenic overload, you're gonna have problems. That's why you need to get balance inside the body from an electrical viewpoint, not just a biological viewpoint. Because otherwise, you won't be able to handle this electronic smog increase that's happening all around us, as well as the uranium and the radioactive isotopes that are in our environment. We have more radioactivity here on the east coast of the United States than I believe you got there on the west coast from Fukushima. There's more radiation in Michigan and Nebraska and Louisiana than there is on the west coast of the country. And nobody's ever hearing this. If you're not protecting yourself with at least something, I believe our program, because of my experience, the protocols that we have, the radioactivity goes away and your body heals, just like with anything else. That's why we got kind of a all-inclusive, if you will. It works on just about everything.
Now, what does this cost? How do you break this down? It's
on the website. It's called the GSR. G as in goat. SR hand scanner. This technology been around since the 1950s. It's actually lie detector technology using skin response. It's nothing new. NASA and the Air Force has been using this with the astronauts and the pilots for like 40 years to monitor their bodies to make sure that everything's functioning properly biologically with the astronauts' bodies. It's just used in a little different way. We have our own, everything that is how we use it is extremely unique to us. It is a one-of-a-kind system that we use with the technology that's been around. So we've taken something and then altered it, augmented it, and it works extremely well across the board.
Now, this analyzes your hand, so you just put your hand on this device and what does it tell you?
Yeah, you basically are renting my device. I'm going to mail you my device with directions on how to use it. You hook it into your computer, then through the internet it connects to our mainframe computer. You put your hand on the device. It touches thousands and thousands, like up to 30,000 different frequencies, pathogens of all kinds, funguses, bacteria, molds, viruses. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's got all the different AIDS viruses, HIV, hepatitis, Lyme organisms, MRSAs, you name it, we about got it. As well as biological agents, as well as all the different pharmaceutical drugs, which we're talking huge portion just there. We do allergies, we do, all this stuff. It's like sonar, like a bat or a dolphin. It gives off a sound, basically a frequency into your body through your hand, and it reads or analyzing what's going on, but actually to create something that's going to work exactly for your situation while your hand is on that scanner. I mean, it's extremely sensitive and it's extremely customized just for you while your hand is on that scanner.
Okay, you rent that scanner, you rent the scanner, you don't sell it, you're not in the manufacturing business, so you rent the scanner out. Is that correct? What does that cost?
Yeah. It's $150 for the first scan, and then it's $125 for thereafter. I mean, I got companies right now that are actually bought the scanner, and they use our process for their employees as healthcare. They say, screw Obama, we're not doing it. We're going to do this because our people working here, the employees, they're happier, they're healthier, they don't spend the money, so the company pays for the scan, the people pay for their own protocols, and that's their health care. I do that here with the people that work with us. It's my health care. Every month I get a scan, I follow the protocol. That's just there's no guesswork in it.
Now,
You know what's going on.
Tell me something about the protocol. What do we do? Okay, let's say I sign up tomorrow and get this, and I'll be glad to work an advertising deal out with you so I can report on it live right up in the beginning. So, over my... Alright, let's try to do that.
Yeah, so you can go to the website. Oh, what's that?
I was trying to fix my over-modulation there.
Okay, yeah, Dave just sent me a message. I thought I'd pass it on to you.
I appreciate that. See if I can,
Yeah, no problem.
see if I can fix that a little bit. And some audio settings. We'll cut my microphone back a little bit. Alright, that looks good. Alright, hope let me tell him to let me know, or through you, if that's any better. We'll see if we can do that. Okay, now, let's say I've signed up for this. And I think that might be a good idea, because if I can report on these protocols, and I don't know if I can get to be feeling much better. A little bit of exercise would certainly help, but what would I be looking at? What kind of would I have to give up my Jimmy Dean's sausage, egg, and cheese sandwiches that I have for breakfast? what do I have to do?
The biggest thing is in that regard, the diet is and most people are coming to us with a pathogen overload, literally a fungus or a bacteria or something. It's like epidemic. The biggest thing is to stop feeding them. And what feeds the pathogens, for the most part, the biggest thing is this high carbohydrate diet. The grains, the nuts, the seeds, the tubers. I wrote a whole chapter in my book just about the damaging effects to the human body by eating those things. It feeds a pathogenic problem. Anything that raises the glucose in your body, the blood sugar, anything, is going to feed the pathogens, because that's where the pathogens get their food source from. Their food source is blood sugar. It's not just white sugar that you eat. It's anything that raises your blood sugar. So therefore, you need to really consider stop feeding the problem, and then in the protocol, there's different products that kill off the pathogenic overload and alters your internal environment to keep them away.
I don't know here. Now, I don't know how well I can handle all this. Would I have to give up the sugar and cream in my coffee? or my coffee?
Use honey instead.
Okay.
There's all kinds of natural alternatives
stevia also. Stevia is pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
I might be able to handle that. Although I still like a little bit of Coca-Cola from now and then. But I've been doing that my whole life, and I'm not in too bad a shape. So, is there something unique about my physiology or my blood makeup? Does a typo negative make a difference?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make a difference your blood type. It doesn't make a difference your pH levels. It doesn't, because it takes it all into consideration while you're doing the hand scan, and it makes the compensations for whatever type you are. It doesn't matter male, female. Doesn't matter your ethnic race. It doesn't matter blood type. Any of that thing, because it's able to make the customized protocol based on what it's finding in the scan, because we're looking at all this stuff. We're looking at the genetic issues. We're looking at, all these things: the minerals, the heavy metals, the amino acids, the proteins, the polypeptides, peptides, neurotransmitters, all these things. So it really doesn't matter about anything other than what the scan picks up. It's a pretty all-inclusive. So, and then it's based on the dietary choices, because that we figured out you can't feed the problem and try to kill it at the same time.
Now let me ask you, that brings up something. I've got a biochemist friend in Albuquerque that created a line of minerals for me, and and she also had nano silver, and part of the ingredients in her formula. And you remember Dead Doctors Don't Lie, Eli Wallach, talking about how we needed the minerals. And so she came up with a formulation that included fulvic acid. Most people have never even heard of fulvic acid. But she says they got it from prehistoric plant life, because the plants that are grown on the farms today don't produce it anymore because the soil has been so depleted. And she also, I propose that the reason cannabis can cure cancer is that their roots go deep enough to pull out that fulvic acid, which she says is a cellular healer. Now, is that some wholesome bull, or is she accurate? What's going on there? I mean, we've talked. Go ahead.
I'm aligned with that. There's several other amino acids that are important, but fulvic acid is definitely one that is missing. Humic acid is another one. I'm aligned with that. We have those in our products, naturally occurring, as well as over 80 different minerals. And that is one of the biggest keys, is the mineral density in our body. If you don't have the trace elements in our bodies can't function properly, and then we're going to get ill. It's inevitable. And fulvic acid is just one component to health. There's lots of others, but that's extremely important, and I'm aligned with that. I use it. I understand how valuable it is. I also understand how valuable it is in a way, in a form that the body recognizes, because there are fulvic acid supplements on the market that are, in my opinion, are just junk and industrial waste. They're not in a whole food form.
I would be happy to put you in touch with my biochemist in Albuquerque. I've got the Heritage Health line up on my website. If you go to the products page, you can see what it was. And I just basically closed everything down when I decided I didn't have a business anymore. I'm now reinstating all of that, one way or the other.
Congratulations. Welcome back.
Well, that's what it almost feels like, I mean, and it still ain't ended, I got my little battles going on here. Somebody doesn't like what I say, doesn't like what I want to do, doesn't like it that I ride a Harley, doesn't like it that I like to smoke pot, I think it ought to be legal. I can step on a lot of people's toes, But I think the answers are out there. I think we've got the knowledge. I mean, just even the knowledge of fulvic acid. You know about it. Nobody else does. Nobody else does. So you've done your research. Now, if we work together, we got a whole line to put together here to offer people. I mean, I'd just soon run it all through your company. And matter of fact, I don't want to talk to you about all the products. I haven't even been through all your website yet. I've just been reading a book. And the book's impressive enough that I think your knowledge needs to be well distributed.
I'm aligned with that. That's what we've been doing. I don't advertise as in just general advertising, because you almost got to get what we're about to really get the full value, and we get lumped in the natural health world because right now there's only two worlds. You have the allopathic medical world, and then you have the natural health world. And I'm saying I don't even fit into that world, but there's nowhere else to be lumped. I'm on the fringe of the natural health world at the same time. So.
No. I'm sorry, Will. I got to disagree with you.
Yeah?
I think you're on the cutting edge.
Okay, I like that. I appreciate that.
You know, I'm not fringe. I'm not radical. I'm just telling you the flat out truth. And Will's telling you the flat out truth. That's why he's on my show. That I'm not trying to sell you any bill of goods. I wrote a good book. He wrote a good book. Buy the book. That's why we make a living. You know, that's why we make a living. That's now you can't find it in a bookstore. Gee, why not? Well,
I self-published, and I didn't do the bookstore route, and I feel I wanted to keep in control of the information, just like you publish your stuff, and that way you know that it can't be bastardized and changed and altered and whatnot. That way, you want my book, you get my book.
That's right, and I've got it on, my books are on Amazon. If you need any help getting on Amazon, or you can put it on Amazon. I'm also picking up Eli James. He's got a new book out. He was my co-author in Mystery Babylon, New World Order Unveiled, and I'm going to be putting his books up there. You know, this is what I've always done. I've always sold other people's books. I always made a living off of it. That's what we did in Bingham, man. We had a nice bookstore in Bingham, didn't we?
Yeah, you had a full-service bookstore, and actually you had a lot more than books.
Yeah, videos and all that. And it can be again. And, you know, I said that I had one lady call. She was doing a radio show. She used to do a radio show 10 years ago. She said, you know, Clay, I did what you suggested. I went out and I got that, me and my husband got a piece of property out here, and we planted a garden, and we put some solar out. We did exactly what you said, and we couldn't be happier. We're just doing great up here in Oregon. And I think I've had an effect on people. I think people have, you know, we got a lot of organic gardeners. We got a multi-billion-dollar marijuana business going on in California, in every state where medical marijuana is legalized. That'd be 20 states. So the novels I wrote 45 years ago are happening right now, folks. My science fiction novels from 40 years ago. And I think we're really at a cutting edge. The information that you're getting out is just about being healthy. Keep the honeybees happy, you know. Put the honey in the coffee instead of the sugar, you know. That's and support the hemp industry. My God, that's in Colorado now, and I'm really considering moving to Colorado. With the right offer, I'd be there. I'd go there and set up if I've got people to work with. But we've got the internet now. So where are you located now?
We're physically in eastern Pennsylvania, but we have clients on every continent. We have scanners all over the world, all over North America, New Zealand, Australia, all over Europe, Russia. With the internet and shipping the way it is, there is really no limits. I mean, we've been to North Africa with scanners and stuff, products. So you know, there is no borders in that regard.
You know, I said I really wouldn't have much problem with the New World Order if we ran it under the Bill of Rights. And so everyone exercised the same rights. You know, that's the freedom of the individual, and that's really my message to people here. You know, you don't have to be programmed. You don't have to be a robot. You don't have to fall in line with the other lemmings. there's something you can do.
Right. That's one of the keys is realizing your potential and then moving in that direction.
Well, that's
huge.
That's my Liberty Village concept. What can you contribute? You like to garden? Put a garden in your backyard. You know, you like to work on wood? Make frames for solar panels. You know, it's what can you build? What can you do? What can you produce? And how do you remain happy and content and healthy while you're doing it? I mean, we can really turn our home with a computer now. The technology that you got, we don't need to go to a doctor. We've got Timothy Bible College online. We've got the Little Red Schoolhouse online. You can get your high school diploma. If you're a dropout, you can get your high school diploma right here. So that means no Columbines. That means nothing. No Sandy Hooks. It means you can go as far as you want without having to go into that college. You described the college. You had a perfect description of the college. It's a police state.
Correct. Mind controlled police state.
So we've got all and the technology that we've had for 100 years. If we were allowed to use it, you know, if we were allowed to use these carburetors, I just had Paul Pantone on yesterday, who did the GEAT system. He was my guest. He's still teaching people all over the world to build a GEAT, but you're not seeing it sold here, are you?
Right. Yeah, I know him. He's that technology's fantastic, but it's not easy to get. It's not in the open market. We had it to revolutionize our world.
Yep. You could put that generator in your garage and not have to worry about carbon monoxide in it twice as long on a gallon of gas.
Right.
They don't want us. I mean, this is the economic slavery that we're in. We got to pay for that gasoline, and that's what the prohibition was all about. They didn't want you running your car, your Ford, on alcohol. They wanted you to buy that gasoline.
Right.
Can you organize this? What if somebody took got this technology and representing you and went into a neighborhood and say, okay, we need a neighborhood captain. We need a neighborhood captain who can do the scans for the health, who can take our information about energy, to disseminate information about people that need work, people that need product, people that put people together. Put people together. That's I always had classifieds in the Free America, and I'll have them again up on libertyvillages.org and Free America.
We have those. We call them our scanning hubs. We have them all over. People have had a request, so we honored the request and made it work. So you can actually do this locally. We have people that are making pretty good living and changing their community. So it's a win-win. You get healthy, your friends and neighbors get healthy, and we all benefit from that.
And you
just got to ask.
Okay, that will now go into my plans for the future.
Yeah.
Will.
And it works that easy. I mean, we're not that hard to get along with.
I mean, the neighborhood hubs is exactly what I envision. If we send one flyer to your neighborhood hub that says, look, here's a chance to get a solar backup unit, $500 right here. Subscribe to this. Here it is. This is where you get the information. And
wow.
we've got you want a crash course in Timothy Bible history? I got the history of the Rothschilds in my book. You can get it online for $10. People need to know about that. This is the whole story of why they're going after the veterans, what Christian identity is, what the whole patriot movement was about, and 9/11, all wrapped up in one book. We need to reach people. We need to expand this radio show and your radio show. If you'll send me a banner for, or just pull it right off of Revolution Radio. I see you got a banner up there. Pull that off and send it to me, and I'll put it up on the website.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
And folks, here, this really illustrates what I've been telling you. If we don't work together, they'll just hang us alone. You know, everything I'm proposing is something that's good for the people, whether it's the counter currency, whether it's the Ithaca hours, Will's treatment, Will's book. You need to read that. I promise you won't be sorry. And these neighborhood hubs. If you, I'm putting the next issue, the first issue of the new Free American online magazine together now. If you send me a sign-up page, that kind of information, and a whole story about these neighborhood hubs, which I just heard about in the last 5 minutes here, then we'll make that all inclusive. That'll be a part. You know,
sure.
my wars with the doctors and the drug dealers, and you've got the weapons that we need to defend ourselves.
I believe it, at least for our bodies.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll try to help you on the mind thing, but we got to do right thinking. You know, it's just, and really the right thinking is simply about doing the right thing, doing what's good for us and good for the people and good for our neighbors.
Yeah, it's the golden rule, isn't it? You know, do unto those you want done unto you. So I'm definitely telling people, because what I found out about health is definitely we need to do something to extra. You can't just eat food and expect to be healthy nowadays.
Well, no, not especially when they're using the corn the rats won't eat. Isn't that accurate? The rats won't eat. I said. Yeah, I said, we're being fed food that rats won't eat. I understand rats will walk away from that genetically modified corn. Is that true?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I had some on my farm when I was this was back in the early 90s. My goats would not eat that stuff. I had to force them to eat the beans and the corn and the genetically modified garbage. And that's what opened my eyes. They're like, why ain't the animals eating this? They're smarter than us, evidently, because they choose not to eat it. They know they sense it somehow, and they don't want to eat it because it's bad for them. It's going to harm them.
Yeah, I'm really touting this Oklahoma Food Co-op. That's their website, .com. And they've got all the rules, all their setups, how much it costs, and all that. I think everybody ought to be starting one of those in your county, and maybe we can suggest they do that through the hubs that you're talking about. All the paperwork's there. You can pull all their paperwork down, as I have, and that's the paperwork that you need for each county. You know, if you're going to be a producer, you got to do non-GMO food. If you're going to be a consumer, you go to you place an order with the co-op, and you go to the county courthouse on Saturday, meet your farmer, pick up your order. And
what's the name of the website, Clay?
It's Oklahoma Food Co-op. You can put it in Google, and it'll bring it right up.
Okay, Oklahoma Food Co-op. I will do that. Thank you.
And I want to see this offered. I'm going to certainly put the website and everything into the Free American. As soon as I talk with the people that are running the thing, I haven't done that yet, so that's why I haven't got it up yet. But I think it's an excellent idea. They got thousands of people in it. And this means the people in the city are supporting the farmers, not the government paying the farmers not to grow crops, not these subsidies. You know, this is what we ought to be doing. This is the way this whole country was formed, Will.
Right. Yep. Yep. I believe it. We need to get back to that because that's what's sustained for hundreds and hundreds of years. And since about 250 years ago, whatever, Mr. John Deere created the moldboard plow, everything pretty much went south after that.
Well, there's people up on the internet that say you don't need to plow up the land, leave it the way it is, plant the seeds, water it, cover it with wood chips, water it again, and enjoy the food.
Yep. Yep, I come from conventional agriculture. My dad was a pretty big farmer. At the end there was like 3,000 acres. I had my own farm. I had a 40-acre farm. I did milk goats and chickens and smaller scale stuff, direct marketing to the consumer. And it's much better farming the biodynamic, organic way than the conventional. The profit margin is much bigger because you're marketing directly to the consumers. It's definitely healthier for the land and everybody else involved.
Yeah, you might want to join that co-op. The one information I don't have because I've been kind of broke. The information I don't have is how much the farmers are getting for their crops, whether that's equitable or whether that saves money. My vision for the co-op would be to buy in bulk and then sell it back to the members for cost plus 10.
Right.
I don't have the personnel to handle the logistics on that, but that ought to be happening county to county. If nothing else, go to Sam's Club and then split the costs, split the goods, you know, the staples, the coffee, the sugar, the tea, whatever.
Right.
If you know, we've had people on here that talk about you know, saving money. The best thing you can do is simply put insulation, better insulation on your hot water heater. You know, and be surprised how much money you can save on that. So it's really
a lot of little things.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's so many ways that if we were thinking about this consciously instead of just coming in and turning on the light switch, that we can certainly reduce our dependency on the power companies and the government and the banks. And to me, the banks are the bad guys, and that's what we got to do. We got to separate ourselves as much as we can from the banks and the corporations, the Monsantos, the Archer Daniels, you know, out there. We've just got to take a step back from this old military-industrial complex mentality,
right.
Pharmaceutical mentality. Yep. And that's why I appreciate your book so much. You're really taking me on a nice journey. It's a nice ride to take with you. You're a good writer.
All right. Well, thank you. I had help. My partner, she's a great editor.
All right.
And contribution.
All right. Will Spencer, the book is The Underlying Cause of the Unconscious Conspiracy Against Our Health. Click on any of the illustrations on my site. It'll take you right to his. God bless you. We'll have you back on. And don't forget to send me a story on these units, and we'll get that in the next issue.
Okay, not a problem, Clay. Thank you very much for having me on today. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was a wonderful show. He has a device that you put your hand on and it analyzes the alkalinity of your body, everything. Imagine what your toxins are, he says. You okay?
Yeah, I take some sippers out of it. Right there, I guess mom. That's gonna pee again. Yeah, it's gonna pee again.
They were just outside.
I know, and I'm not used to them coming right in and peeing. My dogs use the potty bath. I'm cleaning this shit up everywhere.